Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Thanks. Now, Donald Trump's new head of the Environmental Protection Agency has said that he doesn't agree that carbon dioxide is a primary contributor to global warming. Scott Pruitt's comments put him at odds with mainstream scientific organisations and drew condemnation from around the planet, including from the former British Climate Secretary Ed Miliband, who bluntly tweeted FFS, which you may have to look up in the Urban Dictionary. Kylie Morris joins us now from Washington. Kylie.
Well, I don't think it's from the periodic table, Krishnan. That was Ed Miliband reacting to Scott Pruitt, who apparently has really now moved into full climate change denial mode. The new head of the EPA made slightly more conciliatory noises at his confirmation hearing a couple of weeks ago before he took up the job, when he said at that point that the debate was far from settled when it came to linking human activity to climate change. But fast forward to today, and this is what he said when he was asked if he believes carbon dioxide is a primary contributor to global warming.
No, I think that measuring with precision human activity on the climate is something very challenging to do, and there's tremendous disagreement about the degree of impact. So no, I would not agree that it's a primary contributor to the global warming that we see. Or we don't know that yet. As far as we need to continue the debate and to continue the review and the analysis.
I'm joined now by Dr. Brenda Eckwurzel, who runs climate science at the Union of Concerned Scientists. Dr. Eckwurzel, is there any possibility that in scientific terms Scott Pruitt could be right?
Administrator Pruitt may deny the evidence. However, if he were to ask scientists in his own agency, they would say the climate change is real, it's human-driven, and we are already seeing the impacts of climate change. And in fact, 97% of scientists who have published on this topic agree with them.
So the link between CO2 emissions, human activity, fossil fuels, climate change, it's there.
In fact, we have smoking gun evidence that it's fossil fuels in the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere.
And these are Scott Pruitt's words. We know that he came to the Environmental Protection Agency in part because he holds these kinds of views. But what if those views are translated as we must expect them to be into policy? What does that actually mean? If you don't regard CO2 emissions as being dangerous, why bother legislating to control them?
You bring up a very good point, because the United States Supreme Court told the EPA that they have to deal with carbon dioxide and figure out solutions. In fact, people around the world and future generations depend on decisions like this, and the EPA is mandated to do that. So, during his confirmation hearings, he evaded the question of human-driven climate change. Yet this morning, we're surprised to hear that he is denying that carbon is the primary culprit.
I mean, realistically, how effective is the EPA going to be in doing its job, in playing that role, given we're already hearing about potential budget cuts of nearly 25%?
You can't keep cutting at the bone of scientists and people who are trying to implement a solution to human-driven climate change. And in fact, the Paris Climate Agreement, each country has put their chips on the table and said how much they're going to do, and including the United States. That would hinder that.
The climate agreement in itself seems at peril, certainly. There are voices, it would seem, within the Trump administration, very influential voices, who are suggesting that it's time for the US to walk away from that agreement. What impact would that have?
That would be severe, because the Paris Climate Agreement says we have to hold global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius, and perhaps aspire to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Already at 1.5 degrees Celsius above industrial levels, we start losing the summer sea ice in the Arctic. That's pretty severe.
Okay, Dr. Brenda Eckwurzel, thank you very much for joining us. That's all for now. Back to you in London.
Kylie Morris in Washington.
I've been getting away with it all.